The cold darkness of space surrounded the small escape pod. Inside, Kira pressed her crystal hands against the cracked window and stared at the stars. Her blue skin glowed weakly in the dim light. She was running out of power, and she knew it. 3 days ago, everything had been different. Kira worked on the research ship Moonwhisper, with 12 other Velkari scientists. They traveled to this far corner of space to study strange energy readings. Her people were curious about everything in the universe. They loved to learn and discover new things. The Velkari had always been peaceful. Their crystal bodies could store and use energy in amazing ways. They built beautiful ships that moved through space like dancers. Their technology was gentle and clean. They never wanted to hurt anyone. That morning, Kira had been working in the energy lab. She was young for a Velkari scientist, only 200 years old. Her crystal skin sparkled with excitement as she studied the readings from a nearby star. The energy patterns were unlike anything she had seen before. "Kira, come look at this," called Dr. Voss from the main deck. He was the expedition leader, old and wise with deep purple crystals growing from his shoulders. "The sensors are picking up something strange." Kira floated over to where he stood. The Velkari moved by controlling the energy around them, gliding through their ships like swimming through light. She looked at the displays and gasped. 3 large ships were approaching fast. "Are they friendly?" Kira asked. Dr. Voss shook his head. His crystals dimmed with worry. "I do not think so. These ships are Thaxan design. They are a warlike people. We should leave quickly," but it was too late. The Thaxan ships opened fire without warning. Green energy beams cut through the Moonwhisper like hot knives through ice. The peaceful research vessel had no weapons. Its shields were meant to protect against radiation and space debris, not military attacks. Kira watched in horror as her friends and teachers died around her. The beautiful crystal halls of their ship cracked and shattered. The gentle hum of their energy systems turned into screaming alarms. Emergency lights flashed red as the ship broke apart. "Get to the escape pods," Dr. Voss shouted over the noise. But another energy beam hit the ship's core. The explosion threw Kira across the room. When she woke up, she was alone in an escape pod drifting in space. Now 3 days later, Kira felt her life slipping away. The escape pod was small and basic. It had enough power for maybe one more day. Her crystal skin was turning gray as her energy ran low. Without power, a Velkari would slowly fade and die. She tried the communication system again. Static filled the tiny speaker. No one would hear her out here. This part of space was empty and far from any trade routes. The Thaxans had attacked them here because no one would witness their crime. Kira thought about her homeworld. Crystal cities that sang with harmonic energy, gardens where light flowers bloomed in rainbow colors. Her family would never know what happened to her. The research data they had gathered would be lost forever. She closed her eyes and tried to remember her mother's voice. The Velkari spoke in musical tones, creating beautiful harmonies even in simple conversation. Her mother used to sing her to sleep with ancient songs about the stars. A soft beep made her open her eyes. The pod's computer was warning her about life support. The air recycler was failing. Even if she had power, she would run out of air soon. The escape pod was damaged from the explosion that had thrown her clear of the ship. Kira looked at the communication panel one more time. She could use some of her own life energy to boost the signal. It might let her send a message farther into space, but using her energy would make her die faster. She made her choice. Placing her crystal hands on the communication controls, Kira poured her life force into the transmitter. Her skin glowed bright blue as power flowed through the system. The signal strength increased 10 times. "This is Kira of the research vessel Moonwhisper," she spoke into the microphone. Her voice was weak but clear. "My ship was destroyed by Thaxan forces. I am alone in escape pod 77 Beta. My position is..." She read off the coordinates from the navigation screen. "I do not have much time left. If anyone receives this message, please know that my people were peaceful. We came here only to learn. The Thaxans attacked without cause. They are building something dangerous. Please warn the Galaxy Council." The effort of boosting the signal made her very tired. Kira slumped back in her seat, breathing hard. Her crystals were barely glowing now. She had maybe hours left instead of a day. Outside the small window, stars continued their eternal dance. Somewhere out there, billions of beings lived their lives. They worked and played and loved each other. They did not know about one small Velkari dying alone in the darkness. Kira began to sing softly to herself. It was the same lullaby her mother had sung to her. The melody was sad but beautiful. It spoke of journeys to far places and the hope of coming home again. As she sang, she noticed something strange. The pod's communication light was still blinking. Her message was repeating automatically, sent over and over into the void. Each time it broadcast, it used a little more of the pod's remaining power. She should turn it off to save energy. But what was the point? No one was coming. Better to let the message play until the end. Maybe someday someone would hear it and remember her. The stars seemed to grow brighter as her vision started to fade. Or maybe her eyes were just getting used to the darkness. Kira pulled her knees up to her chest and closed her eyes. She continued humming her mother's lullaby, the soft sound mixing with the steady beep of the distress signal. In the vast emptiness of space, the small escape pod drifted on its silent course. The distress signal kept broadcasting, sending its message of loss and warning to anyone who might be listening. But space was very big, and the chances of anyone hearing it were very small. Kira's humming grew quieter and quieter until finally, there was only the sound of the distress beacon, calling out in the darkness for help that seemed like it would never come. Nari was the first to see them on the sensors. 3 large ships dropping out of hyperspace moving fast toward the Iron Phoenix. Her hands flew over the controls as alarms began to sound. "Captain to the bridge," she called over the ship's communication system. Hyun arrived quickly, still carrying the coffee he had been drinking in his quarters. "What's the situation?" 3 unknown ships approaching fast. "They're big, Captain. Much bigger than us." Nari's voice was calm, but her hands were steady on the weapon controls. On the main screen, the approaching ships looked like metal sharks. They were dark gray with sharp edges and weapon ports all along their hulls. Red lights blinked menacingly as they closed the distance. "Gina, are they trying to communicate?" asked Hyun. "Yes, sir. Signal coming in now." Gina adjusted her equipment. "It's in a language I don't recognize, but I'm getting translation data from our computers." A harsh voice filled the bridge. The words were spoken by something with a deep reptilian throat. "Human vessel, this is Commander Vextar of the Thaxan Imperial Fleet. You are harboring a dangerous criminal. Surrender the Velkari immediately or face destruction." Hyun looked at his crew. They all knew who the aliens were talking about. Kira had warned them about the Thaxans, but they had hoped her escape pod wouldn't be tracked. "Sir?" asked Nari. "Orders?" Before Hyun could answer, Kira appeared on the bridge. She had been resting in the cargo bay, but the alarms had woken her. When she saw the Thaxan ships on the screen, her crystal skin went pale with fear. "They found me," she whispered. "I am sorry. I bring danger to you." "It's not your fault," said Hyun firmly. Then he turned to Gina. "Open a channel to the Thaxan commander." "Channel open, sir." Hyun stepped forward and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Hyun of the cargo ship Iron Phoenix. The being you call a criminal is under our protection. She has committed no crime that we can see." The Thaxan commander's laugh was like rocks grinding together. "You do not understand, human. The Velkari stole important research data. She must be returned for questioning." "She told us her people were attacked without warning," Hyun replied. "That doesn't sound like theft to me." "The reasons do not matter. You will surrender her, or we will take her by force." Kira stepped closer to the communication station. "May I speak to them, Captain?" Hyun nodded. Kira's musical voice carried clearly over the channel. "Commander Vextar, I am Kira of the research vessel Moon Whisper. I have done nothing wrong. My people were studying quantum energy when you attacked us without cause." "You saw things you should not have seen," the commander replied. "That knowledge is dangerous in the wrong hands." "Knowledge of your secret weapon?" Kira asked boldly. "The quantum destroyer that can kill entire solar systems." There was silence from the Thaxan ships. Then the commander spoke again, his voice full of anger. "You have confirmed why you must die. That information cannot be allowed to spread." "Too late," said Hyun with a smile. "Our communication officer has been recording this entire conversation. If something happens to us, the recording will be automatically sent to the human government and the Galactic Council." It was a bluff, but a good one. Gina quickly began setting up the automatic transmission system to make it real. "You are foolish humans," said Commander Vextar. "You risk your lives for an alien you barely know. Why would you do such a thing?" Hyun looked at Kira, then at his crew. They all wore the same expression of quiet determination. "Because it's the right thing to do." The Thaxan commander seemed confused by this answer. "There is no profit in this for you, no strategic advantage. You gain nothing by protecting her. We gain something you'll never understand, said Dr. Minho, speaking up from where he stood near Kira. We gain the knowledge that we did what was right. You have 1 hour to reconsider, the commander said finally. After that, we will take the Valkyrie by force. The channel closed. On the bridge of the Iron Phoenix, the humans looked at each other. They were a cargo ship with basic weapons, facing 3 military vessels designed for war. Well, said Tay over the communication system from the engine room. This is exciting. Can we outrun them? Asked Yun. Not a chance, replied Nari. They're faster and have better engines. If we try to run, they'll catch us in minutes. Can we fight them? Nari checked the weapon systems. Our mining lasers might damage one ship if we get lucky. But 3 Thaxan warships? We'd last about 30 seconds. Kira's crystals dimmed with guilt. This is my fault. I should surrender myself to them. Maybe they will let you live. No, said Hyun firmly. We don't abandon our friends, but I am not your friend. You have known me for only 2 days. Dr. Minho smiled at her. That doesn't matter. You're a good person who needs help. That makes you our friend. Kira looked around at the human faces. They were all scared, she could see that. But none of them suggested giving her up. These strange beings were willing to die rather than betray someone they had just met. I do not understand humans, she said softly. Neither do we. Most of the time, said Gina with a small laugh. Captain, said Tay over the speakers, I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. I'm listening. We're carrying mining equipment, right? Explosive charges, metal cutters, industrial magnets. What if we could turn this cargo ship into something more dangerous? Hyun's eyes lit up. Keep talking. The mining charges are powerful enough to crack asteroids. If we could get them close to the Thaxan ships, they'd do serious damage. And we have magnetic anchors that could attach them to enemy hulls. How do we get close enough? Asked Nari. That's the crazy part, said Tay. We pretend to surrender, let them come alongside to board us, then we surprise them. It was a desperate plan, but it was better than no plan at all. The crew of the Iron Phoenix began preparing for the fight of their lives. Kira watched them work and felt something strange in her crystal heart. These humans were not like any species she had studied. They were willing to risk everything for a stranger. They turned mining tools into weapons with nothing but determination and clever thinking. Kira, said Captain Hyun as they prepared, is there anything you can do to help? Any Valkyrie technology or abilities? Kira thought for a moment. I can control energy. Maybe I can disrupt their ship systems when we get close. Good. We'll need every advantage we can get. As the hour passed, the Thaxan ships moved closer. The humans finished their preparations and waited. They were scared, but they were ready. Incoming message, said Gina. This is your final warning, came the commander's voice. Surrender the Valkyrie or be destroyed. Hyun took a deep breath. This is Captain Hyun. We need to discuss this with our crew. Can you give us a few more minutes? You have 5 minutes. Then we open fire. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what came next. They were about to fight an impossible battle against overwhelming odds. They might all die in the next few minutes, but not one of them suggested giving up Kira. Captain Hyun opened the communication channel one more time. Commander Vextar, we surrender. You can come aboard and take the Valkyrie. A wise decision, human. We are sending a boarding party. Do not try anything foolish. The largest Thaxan ship moved closer to the Iron Phoenix. It was 3 times bigger than the cargo vessel, its hull covered with weapon ports and armor plating. A smaller shuttle detached from the warship and flew toward them. Remember the plan? Yun said quietly to his crew. Wait for my signal. Tay had worked quickly to prepare their surprise. Mining charges were hidden throughout the cargo bay, connected to remote detonators. Magnetic clamps loaded with explosives were ready to attach to the Thaxan ship. It wasn't much against a military vessel, but it was all they had. Kira, are you ready? Asked Dr. Minho. Kira nodded, her crystal skin glowing with nervous energy. I will try to disrupt their systems when you give the signal, but I have never used my abilities as a weapon before. Just do your best, said Hyun. That's all any of us can do. The Thaxan shuttle docked with their cargo bay. Through the security cameras, they watched 6 large reptilian soldiers board their ship. The Thaxans were tall and powerful, covered in dark scales. They carried energy weapons and wore heavy armor. Bring us the Valkyrie. Ordered the lead soldier into his communication device. On our way, replied Hyun over the ship's speaker system. The crew of the Iron Phoenix made their way to the cargo bay. Kira walked between them, pretending to be their prisoner. The Thaxan soldiers watched them approach with cold, reptilian eyes. "This is the one," said the lead soldier, pointing at Kira. "Secure her for transport." One of the soldiers stepped forward with energy restraints. As he reached for Kira's hands, Hyun gave the signal. Now, everything happened at once. Tay triggered the hidden mining charges, filling the cargo bay with smoke and confusion. Nari activated the magnetic clamps, sending them flying toward the Thaxan shuttle. Dr. Minho and Gina dove for cover behind cargo containers. But it was Kira who turned the battle. Her crystal skin blazed with brilliant light as she released all the energy she had stored. Lightning arced from her hands into the Thaxan soldiers' equipment. Their weapons overloaded and exploded. Their armor systems shut down. "The shuttle," shouted Hyun. The magnetic clamps had attached to the Thaxan shuttle's hull. Tay detonated the charges, tearing holes in the smaller ship's armor. The shuttle's engines died, leaving it powerless. But the fight was far from over. The Thaxan soldiers were tough and well-trained. Even without their advanced weapons, they were dangerous. One of them grabbed Kira with powerful clawed hands. "You will pay for this trick, human," the soldier hissed. Dr. Minho surprised everyone by charging at the soldier. The gentle doctor tackled the much larger alien, knocking him away from Kira. "Leave her alone." The soldier threw Dr. Minho aside easily, but the distraction gave Nari time to reach the cargo bay controls. She sealed the bay and began pumping out the air. "Emergency suits, everyone," she called. The humans quickly put on their emergency breathing gear. The Thaxan soldiers, caught off guard, struggled in the thinning air. Their own breathing equipment had been damaged by Kira's energy blast. "Captain," came Tay's voice over the communication system, "the main Thaxan ship is moving in closer. I think they're going to try to board us directly." Through the cargo bay windows, they could see the massive warship approaching. Weapon ports along its hull began to glow as they prepared to fire. "They're going to destroy us," said Gina, her voice tight with fear. "Maybe not," said Kira. Her crystal skin was dimming from the energy she had used, but her eyes were bright with determination. "Tay, can you connect me directly to their ship's power systems?" "What do you mean?" "If I can touch their hull, I might be able to overload their entire ship. But I need a way to reach them." Hyun looked at the approaching warship, then at the damaged Thaxan shuttle. "The shuttle. Can you use its communication system to connect to the main ship?" "Yes," said Tay, understanding immediately. "Their ships link together automatically. If Kira can channel her energy through that link, it might work," Kira agreed. "But it will use almost all my remaining power. I might not survive." "No," said Dr. Minho firmly. "We're not sacrificing you to save ourselves." "It is my choice," Kira replied gently. "You have already given me more than I could have hoped for. You have given me friendship." Before anyone could stop her, Kira ran to the damaged shuttle. She placed her crystal hands on its communication console and began to glow with intense blue light. "Kira, stop," called Hyun, but it was too late. Energy flowed from Kira into the shuttle systems, then through the communication link to the main Thaxan warship. On the ship's hull, lights began to flicker and fail. "It's working," said Tay. "Their power systems are overloading." The Thaxan warship shuddered as explosions rippled along its hull. Emergency lights flashed as its crew tried to regain control. But Kira's energy attack was too powerful. One by one, the ship's systems shut down. Kira collapsed beside the shuttle, her crystal skin now barely glowing. Dr. Minho rushed to her side. "She's alive." "But barely," he said, checking her vital signs. "We need to get her back to our power systems." As they carried Kira to safety, the Thaxan warship drifted helplessly in space. Its engines were dead, its weapons offline. The other two Thaxan ships moved in to help their flagship. "Captain," said Gina from the communication station, "I'm receiving a signal. It's not from the Thaxans. Who is it?" "Multiple ships approaching fast. The lead ship is identifying itself as Valkyrie. They're asking about Kira." On the main screen, new ships appeared. They were beautiful vessels that seemed to be made of living crystal, gliding through space like dancers. More ships followed. Vessels from different species, all part of the Galactic Council. "This is Elder Sora of the Valkyrie Council," came a musical voice over the communication system. "We received a distress signal about our lost researcher, Kira. Is she safe?" Hyun smiled with relief. "She's alive thanks to her own courage, but she needs help. We are sending medical assistance immediately. And Captain Hyun, We have heard what you and your crew have done. The entire galaxy owes you a debt of gratitude. As Velkari medical teams beamed aboard to help Kira, and council ships surrounded the disabled Thaxan vessels, Hyun looked at his crew. They were battered and exhausted, but they had won. Not bad for a cargo ship, said Nari with a tired smile. Not bad for humans, added Tae. Dr. Minho stayed close to Kira as the Velkari doctors worked on her. Will she be okay? He asked. Yes, replied one of the crystal beings, but it will take time for her to recover. She used almost all her life energy to save you. As Kira slowly opened her eyes, she saw the faces of her human friends surrounding her. Did we win? We won, said Hyun. The Thaxans are captured and the galaxy knows about their secret weapon. Good, Kira whispered. Then she smiled. I told you humans were special. The crew of the Iron Phoenix had started the day as simple cargo haulers. They ended it as heroes who had helped prevent a war and saved countless lives. But to them, the most important thing was that they had saved their friend. That was what made humans special, not their technology or their weapons, but their willingness to do what was right no matter the cost. Captain Hyun rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the star charts on his screen. The Iron Phoenix had been traveling for 2 weeks carrying mining equipment to the new colonies on the edge of human space. It was not exciting work, but it paid well and kept his crew busy. The Iron Phoenix was not a beautiful ship. It was built for carrying cargo, not for looks. Gray metal walls, narrow corridors, and the constant hum of engines working hard. But it was home to Hyun and his 5 crew members. Captain, we're making good time, said Nari from the pilot's seat. She was his first officer, smart and quick to make decisions. Her black hair was tied back as she studied the navigation controls. We should reach the mining station in 4 days. Hyun nodded. Good. The sooner we deliver this equipment, the sooner those miners can get back to work. He was a practical man who believed in honest work and keeping promises. In the engine room, Tae was checking the power systems. He was the best engineer Hyun had ever worked with. Tae could fix anything with just spare parts and determination. The man had magic hands when it came to machines. Dr. Minho was in the medical bay updating his records. As the ship's doctor, he took care of everyone's health. He was gentle and kind, always worried about others. Even though cargo ships rarely had medical emergencies, Hyun was glad to have him aboard. Gina worked at the communication station. She was young but very smart with languages and signals. She could talk to almost anyone in the galaxy, even species that humans had just met. Her job was usually quiet on cargo runs like this. The crew had worked together for 3 years. They were like family now. Hyun trusted each of them with his life, and he knew they felt the same way about him. Captain, Gina called out suddenly, I'm picking up something strange. Hyun walked over to her station. What kind of strange? It's a signal, but not one I recognize. The pattern is very different from anything in our databases. She adjusted her controls, making the signal clearer. It's been repeating for hours. Same message over and over. Pirates? Asked Nari, her hand moving toward the weapon controls. No, Gina shook her head. This doesn't sound like a pirate signal. It's more like, she paused, thinking, like a distress call. But the language is unknown. Hyun felt his chest tighten. Distress calls meant someone was in trouble. It was an old law of space travel. You always helped those who needed it. The universe was big and dangerous. Anyone could find themselves lost and alone. Can you get a location on the signal? He asked. Gina worked at her controls for several minutes.
Yes, sir.
It's coming from about 2 light hours away. Whatever is sending it must be very small. The signal is weak. Tae, Hyun called into the ship's communication system. How much time would a detour cost us? Tae's voice came back through the speakers. Depends on how far, Captain. A few light hours. Maybe half a day total. We have extra fuel. Hyun looked at his crew. These were good people who had signed up to haul cargo, not go on rescue missions. But he could see in their faces that they were thinking the same thing he was. Nari, set course for that signal. Best speed? Yes, sir, she said with a small smile. She was already entering the new coordinates. As the Iron Phoenix changed direction, Hyun wondered what they would find. Space was full of mysteries. Most of the time, distress signals came from other human ships or from species they knew. But this signal was different. Captain, Gina said as she continued working on the message. I think I'm starting to understand some of this. The mathematical parts anyway. These beings use numbers the same way we do. Can you tell what they're saying? Only bits and pieces. But I'm getting words like help and alone and something that might mean danger. There's also coordinates, which match the signal location. 2 hours later, Nari called out from the pilot station. There it is, Captain. Picking up something on sensors. On the main screen, they could see a small object drifting in space. It was hard to see because it was so dark, but their lights finally found it. The object was clearly damaged with scorch marks on its hull. It's some kind of escape pod, said Nari. Design is completely unknown. I've never seen anything like it. Dr. Minho joined them on the bridge. Are there life signs? Nari checked her sensors carefully. Hard to tell. The pod's power is almost gone, but there might be someone inside. The signal is definitely coming from there. Hyun made his decision quickly. Tae, prepare the cargo bay for a rescue. Minho, get your medical equipment ready. We don't know what we're dealing with, but someone needs help. Captain, Nari said carefully, we don't know what's in that pod. It could be dangerous. Hyun looked at the small, damaged pod on their screen. It looked so lonely, drifting there in the darkness. If that was one of us out there, wouldn't you want someone to help? Nari nodded. Yes, sir. Then we help. It's the right thing to do. Using the ship's cargo arms, they carefully pulled the escape pod into their cargo bay. Tae sealed the bay and began filling it with air. The whole crew gathered to watch on the security cameras. The pod was beautiful, even damaged. It seemed to be made of some kind of crystal material that caught and reflected their lights. Strange symbols covered its surface, unlike any writing they had seen before. Power readings are almost zero, Tae reported. Whatever's inside doesn't have long. Can we open it? Asked Hyun, working on it. The locking mechanism is completely alien, but I think I can figure it out. After an hour of careful work, Tae managed to open the pod's door. Air rushed out with a soft hiss. Then they saw her. The being inside was clearly not human, but she was beautiful in a strange way. Her skin looked like it was made of blue crystal that glowed weakly. She was unconscious, breathing very slowly. Incredible, whispered Dr. Minho. She's like nothing I've ever seen, but she's definitely alive. Can you help her? Asked Hyun. I don't know. Her biology is completely different from ours. But she's dying, I can see that much. Hyun looked at the strange, beautiful being they had rescued. She had been alone in space, probably for days. No one should have to die alone like that. Do whatever you can, Doctor. We didn't come all this way to let her die now. As his crew worked to save the alien's life, Hyun felt proud of them. They had risked their own safety and mission to help a complete stranger. That was what made humans special, their willingness to help others even when they had nothing to gain from it. The rescue was just the beginning. Now the real work would start. Dr. Minho knelt beside the strange being they had rescued. Her crystal skin was growing dimmer by the hour. He had never seen anything like her before, but he could tell she was dying. Her body temperature is dropping, he told Captain Hyun. And look at these readings. It's like she's made of living crystal and energy. Tae stood nearby looking at the alien's escape pod. Captain, I think I understand the problem. This pod was connected to some kind of power source. When it got damaged, it stopped giving her energy. Energy? Asked Hyun. Look at these crystal parts inside the pod. They're like batteries, but they're all empty now. I think she needs electrical power to stay alive, like we need food and water. Dr. Minho checked his medical scanner again. That makes sense. Her vital signs are getting weaker. If we don't do something soon, she'll die. Can we give her power from our ship? Asked Hyun. Tae scratched his head. Maybe. But I don't know how much she needs or what kind of power. If I give her too much, I might hurt her. Too little and she'll still die. The alien made a soft sound. Her eyes opened slowly. They were large and blue, like deep water. She looked around at the humans surrounding her, confusion and fear on her face. It's okay, Dr. Minho said gently, even though he knew she couldn't understand. We're here to help. She tried to sit up but was too weak. Her crystal skin flickered like a dying light bulb. She spoke in musical tones, her voice like singing. Gina, called Hyun. Can you understand any of this? Gina hurried over with her language equipment. She set up microphones and speakers around the alien. I'm recording everything she says. Maybe I can find patterns. The alien spoke again, pointing to herself. She repeated the same musical sound several times. I think that's her name, said Gina. It sounds like Kira. Kira, repeated Dr. Minho softly. The alien looked at him and nodded weakly. She understands that we're trying to help, said Hyun, but we need to figure out how to give her power. Tae was already working on the problem. He had brought tools and cables to the cargo bay. The power outlets in her pod use a different system than ours, but I can build an adapter. As Tae worked, Gina tried to communicate with Kira. She used simple pictures and numbers, pointing to things and saying the human words clearly. Kira was very smart. Even though she was weak, she began to understand some basic words. She's learning fast, said Gina with amazement. Faster than any being I've worked with before. Dr. Minho stayed close to Kira, monitoring her condition. Her energy levels are dropping quickly. How long do you need, Tae? Almost done, Tae replied. He was connecting human power cables to crystal components from the alien pod. This should work, I hope. Captain Hyun watched his crew work together to save a being they had never seen before. They didn't know if Kira was good or evil. They didn't know if helping her would bring them trouble. But they couldn't watch her die. Okay, said Tae finally. I'm going to try a very small amount of power first. He connected his makeshift adapter to the ship's power system. Immediately, Kira's crystal skin began to glow brighter. She gasped and sat up, looking much stronger. It's working, said Dr. Minho. Her vital signs are improving. Kira looked at each of the humans, then at the cables bringing her power. She understood what they had done. With great effort, she pointed to herself and made the musical sound of her name. Then she pointed to each of them with questioning sounds. She wants to know our names, said Gina. One by one, they introduced themselves. Kira repeated each name carefully, her musical voice making them sound like songs. When she said Hyun, she placed her crystal hand over her heart and bowed her head. I think she's thanking you, Captain, said Gina. As Kira grew stronger, she began to communicate more. Using pictures and gestures, she told them about her ship and her people. She drew crystal beings working together in peace. She showed them stars and ships traveling between them. Then her expression grew sad. She drew pictures of her ship being attacked. Large dark ships firing weapons, her crystal people falling. Explosions and destruction. Someone attacked her ship, said Hyun grimly. Killed her people. Kira pointed to herself, then to the escape pod. She was the only survivor. The sadness in her large blue eyes made Dr. Minho's heart ache. Who did this to you? He asked, though he knew she couldn't understand. Kira seemed to sense his question. She drew new pictures. Large reptile-like beings with weapons. Ships marked with sharp symbols. She made harsh, angry sounds when she drew them. Whoever they are, they sound like bad news, said Tae. Over the next few hours, Kira's condition improved greatly. The steady flow of power from the ship's systems restored her strength. Her crystal skin glowed with healthy blue light. More importantly, she and Gina worked together on communication. Kira was incredibly smart. She learned human words quickly and taught them words in her own language. Soon they could have simple conversations. My people are called Velkari, Kira explained in broken human speech. We study stars. We learn about universe. We never fight anyone. What happened to your ship? Asked Captain Hyun. Kira's crystals dimmed with sadness. Thaxan attack us. Big reptile people, very mean. They destroy my ship. Kill my friends. Why? Asked Dr. Minho. We found something. Secret thing. Thaxan building weapon. Very dangerous weapon. They not want anyone to know. Hyun exchanged worried looks with his crew. What kind of weapon? Kira struggled to find the right words. Weapon that can destroy whole star systems. Kill many planets at once. The cargo bay fell silent. The humans stared at Kira, understanding the terrible importance of what she had discovered. That's why they attacked your ship, said Hyun. To keep their secret. Kira nodded sadly. They think they kill everyone. But I escape. Now I tell you, you must warn others. We will, promised Hyun. But first, you're safe here with us. Kira looked at each of them again. These strange beings had risked everything to save her life. They didn't know her, but they cared about her anyway. Her own people would have debated for days before helping an unknown alien. But humans had acted immediately. Why you save me? She asked in wonder. Hyun smiled. Because it was the right thing to do. No one should die alone in space. Kira's crystals glowed brighter with amazement. These humans were unlike any species she had ever heard of. They helped others without expecting anything in return. They showed kindness to strangers. As she looked around at their faces, Hyun's steady strength, Dr. Minho's gentle care, Tae's brilliant mind, Gina's patient teaching, and Nari's protective watchfulness, Kira realized she had found something precious. She had found friends, but she also worried. The Thaxans would not give up easily. They would hunt for her across the galaxy to protect their secret. And now these good humans were in danger because they had helped her. She had to warn them. But first she needed to get stronger. The humans had saved her life, but the real test was still coming.